How important is water for those who suffer from migraines?
Yes, water is a big one. Dehydration is a big one. Even mild dehydration can act as a migraine trigger. And, even those of us or people who don't have migraine know if you get dehydrated, you're likely going to experience a headache, maybe some lightheadedness. So we know that lower water intake is associated with significant increases in migraine disability, as well as attack severity, frequency, duration. So it is a big deal. And honestly, most migraine patients do know that. But I think a big part of helping them get the amount of water that they need each day is actually figuring out where they're starting from. 'Cause I think a lot of people think they're drinking more water than they may actually be. So the first thing I like to do with clients is doing a water intake log, figuring out where we're starting from, and then help them gradually get to a goal of about 65 to 100 ounces a day, depending on the person. And then looking for, electrolytes that we can maybe add to increase hydration, really educating the patient on what counts as a hydrating fluid. Those are all some things that we can look into to help prevent that dehydration that is such a prominent trigger for migraine.
What is the best way to ask if they're getting enough water? Because it's so easy to be like, do you drink water during the day? Yes. Okay, then they're good, right? But like you said, most people underestimate how much water they're actually drinking. So, what are some really good ways to actually find out how much they're drinking? And how do we determine how much they need?
Yes. So honestly, I will like to ask if you're doing especially a telehealth session like this, I'll ask my client, what do you typically drink your water out of? We figure out how many ounces is in their typical water bottle or their water glass. And then that's a really easy way to figure out how much they're drinking because they can probably more easily say, I'm drinking like 1.5 of these a day rather than I'm drinking 35 ounces of water a day. Most people don't know how many ounces they're drinking a day. So we can use that as a good tool. And then for most people, at least for adults, that 2 liter or 65 ounces is a good end goal. So we can just work up gradually to that rather than going from 35 ounces to 65 overnight. We can just gradually increase that for them. And then using tools like adding citrus fruits or other flavorings to water if they really hate water can be another good way to get that up too.
And what else counts for like total fluid intake? So, yes, we've got our water. Hopefully, they're eating plenty of fruits because I know that has a lot of water in it as well. But what other things that we can suggest to help them increase their total fluid intake?
So, of course, water, but we can also be thinking about, if they're making smoothies, the fluid that they're putting in there absolutely counts. Any decaffeinated or herbal teas that they're drinking will count. Any, soups that have broth in them, we can count that. So, there are a lot of sources that I think people are forgetting about and not giving themselves credit for. Even like a seltzer water or something like that can also count. And oftentimes people will enjoy that more than plain water. So these are all things we can be adding to the tally to help them get to that, 65 to 100 ounces a day.
I think that number is so helpful because, again, as clinicians, sometimes it's hard for us to remember, there's formulas and you register dietitians, you're so great at all your formulas. But in a quick clinic visit, so if you guys can just
Mhm.
remember 65 to 100 ounces a day, that would be a really good goal. That is such a good, helpful number. I hope you guys store that in your pocket for later today.